Good morning. I'm that dude over there, and I like men. Wait! No, but actually, I think that in recent times, unless you watch anime, I think that men have had less time to be appreciated. I mean, I get that guys have had the limelight for a good while, but it's important to remember that men need love too. So this one goes out to all the homies. All I want to do is talk because, like a great degenerate in the past has said, I am an advocate of true gender equality. I am a man who has no problem doling out a dropkick to a female opponent. So today, let's talk about men. The ones I love to see in media, the ones I hate to see in media, and all in between. So if you're willing to talk and listen, here are my 3 points about men that I want to discuss. So, what do I mean when I say this? Well, I just like it when we see dads being dads in media, actually helping when it comes to either taking care of their kids or just being there in general. And I throw teachers here because it plays a similar role. Because I don't want kids thinking that it's just the mom or the female authority that hold, well, all the authority. It's a team effort. The father should be just as active in the child's life as the mother, whether that be disciplining a child, being there to pick them up at soccer practice, or just being there in general. Meanwhile, male teachers deserve just as much recognition as their female counterparts. They shouldn't just be restricted to certain subjects and should be seen for all the work they do across all aspects of a school life. And I had so many guys I wanted to talk about when it came to this part, but I wanted to boil it down to 2 people for each part I'm addressing here. And these 2 people? Well, let me start with the teachers. I think Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom is a great example of a supportive teacher. Not only do they guide their students in their studies, but he more or less caters to each student individually. He encourages his students to think and isn't afraid to punish them if they go too far. As for parents, I'll need you to hear me out for this one, because this one, it's a bit of a stretch, but I still appreciate it. And that person is Richard Watterson.
What the what?
Alright, so before you flood me with comments about how Richard's not a great dad, I just want you to hear me out, alright? Richard starts out the series as the typical dumb dad trope. You know, your typical Homer Simpson, or at very worst, Timmy's dad. But what I like about Richard is that they still allow him to be a parent. They still show how much he's willing to go for his kids, whether that be teaching Gumball to walk, and in that very same episode saving Gumball from a mess he and Darwin created, or working with Nicole to track down the trio when they think Gumball and Darwin have done something to their newborn Anais. Hell, we even get to see Richard being a stay-at-home dad that likes to give their kids a break from their stressful school lives. Richard is a dumb dad, but he still cares. And what do I hate? Well, I can't really think of too many characters to put here, but I guess I have to throw characters like Mr. Burcham. Now, I do want to be fair with this show. I have not sat down and watched a full episode of this series. Everything I talk about is just stuff I remember watching from clips when the show came out. But from what I could gather, Burcham is just a dick in general. As a teacher, his methods don't encourage the children to think on their own, but instead more like him, where if you don't do it how it was taught to you, you're labeled as a donkey and wrong. I don't like it because each student operates differently. Like as much as it's thrown around like crazy, everyone is different. Not everyone's going to behave and understand at the same level. So his ignorance towards his kids feels very, I don't know what the right word is, but I don't like it. And as far as I can remember, he doesn't really do anything with his own kids. Ends up creating a cats in the cradle kind of situation, at least from my point of view, where he focuses more on work and not on the life he's created with his family. At least, again, that's what I could gather. If I'm wrong, I'm fully willing to give up this point, and I want to have a conversation. This is the whole point of videos like this. But let's discuss the next point. While this is a fairly simple take, I will explain it just a bit here. What I mean is that While I love my Zero to Heroes, having this weak, scrawny looking kid grow up to be the champion of the world or whatever, I like male characters that are allowed to just be simple minded, strong, and masculine. Not in a himbo way, where they invest all their skill points in physique, but more of a strong, confident looking guy with a bit of charm. And spoilers if you're still playing it, but I just have to gush about Takamaru from Last Defense Academy. I love this guy. I love that he's always there for everyone, willing to help even the weakest members of the Special Defense Unit with his iconic line, "No guts, no glory." In a game where a lot of the characters are trying to think 3 steps ahead and have quirks that are more memorable than whatever they actually end up deciding to do, looking at you, Ima. Takamaru is just a character who brings a breath of fresh air into the cast, being a down-to-earth guy who wants to see the best in people. And look at that, he doesn't hit women, what a guy. But when it comes to things I don't like seeing, as far as I can tell, I don't like seeing the guys from, say, a show like High Guardian Spice. Now, I do want to cover this show another time because I think there is something I want to say about the show. But until then, let me just be clear, I don't like the men in High Guardian Spice. There are a total of 5 characters I can recall in my head. Snapdragon, the Headmaster, 2 different bully characters, and Slime Boy. At least, I think his name is Slime Boy, I can't entirely be sure. Snapdragon, well, his character arc is about not wanting to be a man. You know, embracing his femininity and being trans. Okay, fine, cool, whatever. I'm not gonna say anything there. The Headmaster, well, they were a woman, and as a now man, isn't what I'd call masculine. And then you got Slime Boy, who's a twink. He's not really big, he's not strong, and he sounds like he barely gets through conversations, you know, like trailing off like that, and it's so weird. The only traditional looking men in the series are the 2 bullies I mentioned before. I don't like how they're treated as villains for just being men. I definitely think the blonde one could have had development in his episode to be a better person and, you know, just be more understanding. But they didn't do that because they wanted to end on a joke, I guess. Meanwhile, the other one is just bullying Snapdragon for essentially no reason, which is fine, I guess, but I just think they could have done something better than Man is Bad, the character. I just don't understand, I guess. And if Takamaru wasn't like my example before, I probably would have used the men in RWBY because, hi, this is post recording me. You're gonna see me later in a second, but I just wanted to clarify what I was trying to say here before I come off as some kind of jackass, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that RWBY and High Guardian Spice share a lot of similarities. For one, each of the main characters form a team of 4 in order to attend this school where they learn how to fight monsters and essentially defend peace, right? However, where I think it differs is that the men quality, or wow, I can't believe I'm using men quality here, but the men in RWBY are very diverse, all right? You have characters like Jean, Ironwood, even Clover that are very well built and traditional hero looking figures, right? But then you also have characters like Pietro, you have Oscar, maybe Ren if you want to like throw in some leaner body types, right? What I'm trying to say here is that like the men in RWBY, while they all have varying body types, but they don't make a specific looking guy generally evil. One, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just gonna say I don't like it. Man, I'm gonna have so much editing here. God damn. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled video. See you soon. Again, that's just my opinion. I'm willing to discuss in the comments, so let me know. But I guess that brings me to my last point, and that's... This one is probably not going to have an example, just because of how broad this can be. What I'm trying to say in this point is that I hate it when men are portrayed as overly emotional crybabies, and celebrated for being so overly in tune with their feelings. Don't get me wrong, men's emotional health is important. I think that they should be allowed to express how they're feeling. And I think that characters that are overly stoic all the time are just kind of boring. They have no sauce to them. It's like having a burrito, but it's only filled with cheese. But the way men show emotion is different than how women do it. Hi, this is me post-editing here. I was about to make a statement I didn't fully agree with. I mean, I want to keep it very simple. I do think this idea is very broad, and I don't think any example I could give would really demonstrate the point I'm trying to represent. Because I feel like if I put a certain character here for what I hate or what I dislike versus a character I do like, I feel like I would be highlighting a certain moment, right? But the characters in question that I wanted to use, I feel like are multi-complex. And like, while there are moments where these characters would be good, there would also be moments where they are bad. And so I tried to switch to like talking about a scene. But then the scene I wanted to break down didn't exactly fit with what I was trying to express. I hope that makes sense. And yeah, but overall this is just what I wanted to bring up. And listen, while I don't think all my points are sound or well thought through, especially with that last one, I think this is the gist about what I wanted to talk about. I feel like if I had included characters like Iroh or maybe Max Tennyson from Ben 10, who are already pretty memorable, it would just kind of make the video redundant. I wanted to give the limelight to the characters that are either recent or haven't had the chance to make a splash. I mean, even now, there's so many characters I would love to talk about. Like Gosha from Beastars, Gerson from Deltarune, and a lot of different Fire Emblem characters. And that's just from the top of my head. And at the end of the day, I just wanted to give back to, well, the boys. You guys are awesome, and I swear to God, I will beat the first person who responds yay in the comments. I'm watching you fuckers like a hawk. But that's just my opinion. And if you think this video isn't man enough or doesn't support the boys enough, let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe. It helps idiots like me who suck at promoting videos and will make me cry less at night from your hurtful words. But, till next time, stay safe out there.